Hello friends, welcome to our channel vedavithu. Hope you're all safe and doing good. Before going into this video, please do click the subscribe button for more updates. In this video, we will be discussing about the historical, political, economical and spiritual value of India. Is India really the God's own country? Why is it considered to be the spiritual capital of the whole world? What makes it so special? Will the Kalki Avatar really arrive in India? I hope you guys had all these questions. So let's find out the answer. Instead of just pointing out the informations, I would like to share some education about the Indian country which has its own glorious history. India has always been the phoenix among the countries, rising from its ashes every time when it was burned down to earth. So why India is so special? India is a land of religions, cultures, rituals, colors, and the list goes on. Here we will be discussing about this topic in 5 parts. The first one is known as the geopolitical part. The second one is known as the controversy part. I term this as controversy because these topics are still on debate, but then they are quite strong topics which cannot be left out of discussion. The third one is known as the land of God part. The fourth one is known as the prophecy of God part. And the fifth one is known as the heritage part. Let's get into the first part, that is the geopolitical part. India is not just popular in the recent times, but if you see the history and head back even to 10,000 years, you will find evidence that India was famous since then. People of world considered India to be their dream destination in terms of business and knowledge. India remained the most iconic country in the whole world. But in the last 300 years, things started to fall apart. Nowadays, people might be diverted from this fact, but then India remained as the God's own country since forever. To understand this, we will look into the history of some famous personalities. I hope you all know about Alexander the Great, the great Greek emperor who almost conquered the world, lived in the period 356 BC to 323 BC. Everyone know him for his talent in war and conquering power. But on the same note, Alexander was also much involved in searching for spiritual knowledge. And that fact made him to visit India, not only because of his thirst to conquer, but to gain knowledge. Because Alexander was taught by the great philosopher Aristotle, from whom he learned a wide variety of subjects. And Aristotle was taught by Plato, and Plato was taught by Socrates, where all these philosophers showcased a great interest on India. This fact motivated Alexander to conquest the Indian country. Though he failed in his job, it is believed that during his time in India, he met a few sages and was looking for deep spiritual knowledge. So nearly 2400 years back, the greatest emperor was more interested on India proving that this country was actually special back then. The second personality is the famous European trader and traveler Marco Polo, who was famous for his trade with China on 1275 AD and stayed there for 17 years. During his time in China, he also visited India to establish trade, and when he returned back to Europe, he wrote the book The Travels, where he documented the rich social portrait of India. The third personality is Columbus. On 1492 AD, he sailed across the Atlantic Ocean hoping to find a new route to India. But unfortunately, he stumbled upon the Americas. And that's how he accidentally discovered America and called them as Indies. Later, after a few years, on 1497 AD, the Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama becomes the first European to reach India via the Atlantic Ocean, where he arrived at Calicut on the Malabar coast of India. And this sea route gave way for the European countries to visit India. The main objective of the European countries was to colonize and loot the wealth of India, thus entering the country in the name of trade. As a single country could not bring India down to its control, a group of countries together joined to do this job, and they shared the land among themselves. So the countries that colonized India were the Croatians, the Dutch, the Danish, the French, the Austrians, the Portuguese, and of course the British. These countries colonized and ruled India for almost 100 to 400 years each. Can you just imagine a group of countries looting the wealth of a single country for centuries, and still they couldn't swap the whole wealth? And even the Islam rule squeezed the country for many centuries. I'm just wondering about the fact that how much wealth India could have had by then. It is literally mind-blowing. For your information, I would like to share a fact to prove the wealth of this country back then. Before the British visited India, India's contribution to the whole world economy was about 25%. And when the British left India, the graph dropped to about 2%. No wonder why the British portray themselves as the royals. Because if you see, most of the so-called developed countries were fed by the Indian wealth. The intention here is not to point out anyone personally, but to make sure you understand the rich history of India. And India didn't stay right there and gave a comeback like the phoenix bird rising from its ashes, and now is considered to be one of the most powerful countries. So, this is all about the geopolitical part. Let's move on to the second part, that is the controversy part. Here we will discuss about the controversy that has to be debated but are very strong subjects too. The first one is, it is believed that Moses, Jesus Christ, and Joshua lived in India during their last days and were buried in India near the Himalayas. These references are given in many books, and the debate is still going on. This makes us understand that these saints had some special connection with the Indian land. And then earlier we discussed about Alexander and Aristotle along with Plato and Socrates. Some of the European authors wrote books years back based on their travel to India during their era, seeking for knowledge and wisdom. So this also marked their special connection with India. The next one is, it is believed that three people from the east, that is, from India, went to greet the birth of Jesus Christ, knowing about his holiness. It is said in Bible that the star showed them the way. This is quite surprising, but then shows the spiritual connection of Jesus with India. The fourth controversy is about Hitler and the swastika symbol. The symbol makes us understand how Hitler was attached to the ideology of swastika, which is the symbol of divinity and spirituality in Indian religions. Here it is believed that Hitler carried out some secret mission in the Himalayan region in search of spiritual wisdom, and he was also much determined to find the city of Shambhala, where it is believed that the Kalki avatar will arrive. The next one is the Silk Route. The route connects the major part of China, India, and the Gulf countries for the purpose of trade. In India, the southern region was majorly focused in terms of trade. The Silk Route is not only connected by the sea but also by land. The Indian Silk Route has its path. Let us begin from the south, which connects Pumbuhar or Kaveri Pumpatinam with Kanjipuram to Puri Jagannath Temple, and then further goes on to Varanasi and further connects the other northern parts. If you see here, these above mentioned parts of India are not only famous for its trade but also considered to be the regional spiritual capitals. It is strongly believed that this is how spiritual knowledge, along with other cultural, economical, and political knowledge, spreaded across the world from India. So these are some of the strong controversy topics related to India. Let's move on to the third part, that is the land of God. In India, around 5,000 to 6,000 years back, there were nearly 72 religions. That is actually a huge number. These 72 religions were organized into 12 religions, and further it was organized into 6 religions by the famous Indian saint Bhagavan Sri Adi Shankaracharya. So nearly 72 religions were blessed by God to the Indian soil, and it has been reorganized into 6. The name of those 6 religions are Saivism, where they worship Lord Shiva; Vaishnavism, where they worship Lord Vishnu; Ganapatyam, where they worship Lord Ganesha; Kaumaram, where they worship Lord Kartikeya or Lord Muruga; Saktam, where they worship Lord Durga or Lord Shakti; Sauram, where they worship the sun god. So these 6 religions are considered to be the traditional religions of India. Along with this, before 3,500 years back, Buddhism made its impact in India and spread it around the world, followed by Jainism and Sikhism. And later, the government accepted a new religion known as Lingayatism. These mark an incredible fact, proving that India is the land of God, because many countries doesn't even have a religion or holy book of its origin, and some may have one religion and a holy book. But if you see the numbers in India, it strongly depicts the rich spiritual history, having around 72 religions and dozens of holy books, which dates back to nearly thousands of years. The fascinating factor here is all those religions and holy books accepted each other, and the people greeted whoever visited the country and shared the knowledge from their heart without any racism. This factor proves that India is indeed the land of God and the land of origin of religions. The next part is the prophecy of God. The first prophecy is from Buddhism, where it is clearly mentioned that Maitreya Buddha or Kalki will be born in the Indian subcontinent. The second proof was given by Nostradamus, where he mentioned that Kalki avatar will arrive in the land surrounded by water on 3 sides, which clearly points the south of India. The third proof is from Islam, in their holy book Hadith, where Prophet Muhammad mentioned these words, Hind ke taraf se jannat ki khushbu aati hai, which means the scent of heaven comes from India. The place where God lives is considered to be heaven, and Prophet Muhammad makes it clear that it's going to be India. Another important point to be noted, which is not exactly a prophecy but still an important point to be considered, which is Saint Thomas, who was one among the 12 apostles of Jesus, came to India after the crucifixion of Christ on 52 AD, and he tried to spread the idea of Christianity in South India for a particular period. The question here is why? Why he chose India? And the next point is the Cheraman Juma Mosque in the Indian state of Kerala was built in 629 AD. It is the oldest and the first mosque in the Indian subcontinent, which was built during the time of Prophet Muhammad under the rule of King Cheraman Perumal, who was later converted to Islam at the feet of Prophet Muhammad. This incident also makes us question why Prophet Muhammad chose the southern part of India and constructed a mosque. What could have been the urgency to build in India? Therefore, the question is still alive. So what we can understand here is the truth, that is, all are God's child, and only the land God chose was South India. Our duty is to find the God, and we people need not worry about the land where He is going to arrive. I honestly think that we should be worrying about how to find Him rather than arguing about the place. But then, it is also quite clear that He will be coming to the south of India. Our duty is to put faith in the right path, and it is God who will choose us in the end. And we finally move on to the fifth part, that is the heritage part. So let's talk about the heritage value of India. What do you think could be India's heritage or archaeological value? It is true that even if you gather all the assets and wealth of the world, it would be nothing compared to India's historical heritage value. Do you know the amount of temples which exist in India? So take a deep breath and try to guess it. What do you think? Maybe some hundreds, thousands, or 100,000? No. Nearly there are about 2 million temples across the country. 2 million, guys, 20 lakhs. That's literally a huge number. If you consider just the state of Tamil Nadu particularly, there are around 38,000 temples, out of which 33,000 are at least 800 to 5,000 years old. These facts speak for themselves, proving the infinitely rich heritage of the nation. This is a real marvel. I meant as marvel because can you even estimate the value of a single 1,000-year-old sculpture? It's not quite possible. Then just think about the 2 million temples which has billions of sculptures in it. and the calculation goes on. Literally, no one can either smuggle or steal these heritage values, making this country indeed the most special one. So it is crystal clear that India is the God's own country. Another important historical incident of mankind to be noted is, according to Islam record, the first human, after he was casted away from the Garden of Eden, landed and lived in the south of Indian subcontinent. He is known as Adam, who is considered to be the God's first man and the first among the 124,000 prophets according to Islam. And he lived in South India. So if the first human came to South India, why not the final coming of God will be in South India? I'm just trying to connect the dots because things should end from where it started. We are nearing to the end of this video. Before that, I would like to share an information which is quite surprising because this might be a prophecy or just ended up being a coincidence which depicts the purpose of the Indian nation. In Bible, in the 8th chapter, 32nd verse of John, it says that, "Then you will know the truth, and truth will set you free." This might be one of the greatest prophecies left unknown to the whole world. For your information, the same words are printed on the emblem of India where it says Satyameva Jayate, which was derived from the Mundaka Upanishad, meaning truth alone triumphs. So here also we can witness the truth being mentioned. Now I am going to make it even more interesting. If you see the emblem of Tamil Nadu, you can find these words Vaimeye Vellum, which means the same, truth alone triumphs. Sounds very interesting, right? This might be a coincidence, but when the dots are connected, it does makes enough sense. Thus, the historical, spiritual, and heritage values of India played a great role proving that it is indeed the God's very own country. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is just my research and perspective on the topic, and I sincerely respect everyone's view and thoughts. Thank you guys. Don't forget to put your thoughts in the comment box. Kindly like, share and subscribe for more interesting topics because a lot more interesting are on the way. Thank you once again.